Hello everyone, welcome to this new video on kinematics. The question is, two particles 1 and 2 moves with constant velocities vector v1 and vector v2. At the initial moment, their radius vectors are equal to vector r1 and vector r2. How must these four vectors be interrelated for the particles to collide? The solution. For particles to collide, relative velocity of first particle with respect to second particle should be towards the displacement vector of second particle. So the position of the two particles is shown in this figure. The vector r1 shows the position vector of particle 1, vector r2 shows position vector of particle 2, and their velocities are vector v1 and vector v2. So the relative velocity of the particle 1 with respect to particle 2 can be written as vector v1 minus vector v2, and the unit vector towards this relative velocity will be vector v1 minus vector v2 upon modulus of vector v1 minus vector v2. So the direction need to be equated, so we can equate this unit vector direction with the displacement vector direction, which is vector r2 minus vector r1 upon modulus of vector r2 minus vector r1. So let's explain this solution procedure in detail. The relative velocity of particle 1 with respect to particle 2 is vector v1 2, which equals to vector v1 minus vector v2, and the direction of this relative velocity is the direction of unit vector. So unit vector v12 will be vector v1 minus vector v2 upon modulus of vector v1 minus vector v2. The displacement of particle 2 from particle 1 position can be written as vector r2 minus vector r1, and unit vector along this displacement direction can be obtained by dividing vector r2 minus vector r1 with the modulus of vector r2 minus vector r1. So if we equate this two direction, we will get the necessary condition for the two particles to collide. So this will be the answer. The second method for solution will be the particles will collide if their position vector after time t becomes equal. So we can write the position vector of particle 1 after time t, that is vector r1 plus vector v1t, equals the position vector of particle 2 after time t. So this will be vector r2 plus vector v2t, and if we take the vector r1 r2 in left hand side, we can write vector r1 minus vector r2 equals t times vector v2 minus vector v1. These two vectors are equal if and only if their modulus and their directions are equal. So if we get the direction of the two vector, we will get the unit vector along this vector r2 minus vector r1 is vector r2 minus vector r1 upon modulus of vector r2 minus vector r1 equals vector v1 minus vector v2 upon modulus of vector v1 minus vector v2.